What's going on, guys? Just chilling on my patio, got the sun hat on, just chilling, and thought, what the hell? I'm gonna make a video explaining why I gave up being an airline pilot to essentially flip couches for a while now, and yeah, just why I would do that in general. So let's get into it. So I get asked this question quite a bit by friends, family, and just people that know me in general. Tanner, why aren't you flying anymore? Tanner, when are you gonna start flying again? And the answer is I'm not. Don't get me wrong, I love flying. It's a lot of fun. I learned a lot, had a lot of great experiences. I still am gonna fly for fun, but not for a career. And the reason being is, well, I'm going to go back. I'm going to start with why I wanted to become a pilot in the first place, or why I thought like that was going to be the career path for me, how that all started, and where I'm at now. So ever since I was a little kid, I always had, I guess, two dreams, two visions. I'm a visionary, so I've always had a dream and a vision that I wanted to be a pilot ever since I was a little kid. I'm going to post a drawing that I made in third grade that my mom actually saved, where I wrote that one day, or what was it? I'll post it. Basically saying like one day I'm going to be a pilot. And another vision of mine is that I've always told myself that one day I'm going to be a millionaire. And going back to becoming a pilot, I always thought like just the norm, like as far as making money and society standards, just getting a job, working hard, saving money, investing in a 401k, and all that. Um, I had a kid at a young age, right out of high school, actually, with my now wife. We stayed together. And then right out of high school, I had to jump right into the workforce. So I didn't go to college or any of that. Joined the sheet metal workers union. Did that for a few years and did some other odd jobs. And I also flipped used cars because that's what I love doing. Deep down, I love flipping stuff. I love starting businesses. Just basically starting with nothing and creating something, no matter what it is, whether it's a business, whether it's anything. So once I started working in the workforce, I knew right away doing sheet metal. I'm like this. I never knew how or what, but my vision at the time was, and my thoughts at the time was, I'm going to become a pilot. I didn't know how or when it was going to work or what, but I just chose to believe that it was going to happen. So fast forward a little bit, after working for a few years, I saved up enough money, and then I started flying lessons where I was from in Bismarck, North Dakota. I got my private pilot's license, and then just becoming a pilot in general, it cost a lot of money. And that was the biggest thing for me, is the way that I was doing it. It was going to take me a long time, let's just put it that way. So I didn't know, like I said, I didn't know how or I didn't know when it was all going to happen, but I just chose to believe that in the end it's all going to work out. So what I ended up doing, I quit my job doing sheet metal, and I got a job at the airport fueling airplanes, just because my belief is, no matter whatever it is that you want to do, you should go and be in that environment, even if you're going to take a pay grade or a pay degrade from what you're doing. Because when I was doing sheet metal, I think I wasn't making a whole lot, like maybe $20 an hour, and I took a pay grade to go fuel airplanes for like 14 or 15. But I knew by doing it, it was allowing me to be in the right environment. So I started fueling airplanes, got to learn a lot more about aviation in general as a whole. And then my flight instructor at the time, she asked me, what is your goal with flying, or what do you want to do? And I told her, I said, I want to go all the way. I want to become an airline pilot. And she said, well, what's holding you back? And I said, like most people, finances. And then she recommended to reach out to this guy in a small town called Madison, South Dakota. Riggin Flight Service is the name of the place, and reach out to a guy there that runs the place and see if he would be interested in helping me get through all my ratings and all that, and in return flight instruct for him. And at first I thought, like, there's no way that's going to happen. Like, that sounds too good to be true. A couple days went by and I said, what's the worst that can happen? So what I did, I wrote him a letter saying who I am, uh, basically what I'm trying to do, mailed it off, and thought, like, I'm probably never going to hear from this guy. A few days go by, and then I actually get a phone call from the receptionist there saying that they received my letter, and that his name is Morris, that Morris wanted to talk with me as soon as possible. So I think it was me and my dad rented an airplane, flew there like the next day or a few days later, met him, spoke with him, and exactly what my flight instructor said happened. So I ended up moving down there to Madison, South Dakota. It's a very small town. Stayed there for, I think, total about a year. But I moved there, and then within 90 days, I already went there with my private pilot's license, and then I got my instrument, commercial, certified flight instructor, instrument, and then my multi-engine rating within 90 days, and then started flight instructing right away. Because to become an airline pilot, you have to reach 1,500 hours of flight time. So the easiest way to do that, because obviously if you're going to rent a plane for 1,500 hours, it's going to cost you a lot of money. So the easiest and quickest way is to become a flight instructor and then build your hours that way. So I did that for about a year. Like I said, it took me about 3 months to get through all my training and get my license and all that. And then I moved back home to the place where I was fueling planes, and then I started flying for them. Flew for them for a while, and then signed up to fly for SkyWest Airlines. I went down there, did an interview and all that. I had a spot, and then boom, COVID happened. So I don't know if any of you remember, but once the pandemic hit, they started laying off all the pilots. So obviously there was no more need for a fresh airline pilot. But I think that was a blessing in disguise, because, to be honest, going back to like my other vision of becoming a millionaire, I started penciling it out when once things got serious and getting to that level of becoming an airline pilot, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. Once flying became a job, it was no longer fun. Like a lot of you, I'm sure, similar spot maybe, where I felt like I didn't have control over my time. Had a kid, a wife, and just never really being able to see them. Never starting to miss a lot of holidays too. I remember I missed Christmas one year, birthdays, you name it. And I saw where like that path was starting to go and where it would have led to the future, and I knew it wasn't for me. So I think 2020 happening, like I said, was a blessing in disguise. That's when I decided, like, it's not for me. So after that happened, or like I was saying, going back, I tend to get ahead of myself or go off track. But my other vision, all right, getting back to it. So my other vision is becoming a millionaire. Again, I don't know how. Well, I mean, in this moment now, I kind of have an idea, but again, you never know what's going to happen in life. You plan for one thing, but you never know what to expect. You have to be open to receiving things, I feel like, and just be abundant, and things will come to you and manifest in mysterious ways. But once I became, or like started to get to the point where things were getting serious, becoming an airline pilot too, I started doing the numbers. And one thing you'll hear me say a lot is numbers don't lie. Uh, I started penciling out, starting off as an airline pilot. You start off as a first officer, and you know what you always hear. Like I feel like no matter what industry or niche you go into, that you're going to make all this money once you've reached this point and this point. But the truth is, you you always start at the bottom and you work your way up no matter what. But starting off as a first officer, I think I would have been making like $36,000 a year before taxes even. And then as you work your way up and build more hours, after I think it was like after 5 years or so, you'd be making around like 100,000. So just pencil that out, and after taxes, and after 10 or 20 years, you're going to cap out at 150, 200,000 again before taxes. So penciling that out, it's going to take a long time to become a millionaire, right? Um, and then again, not even just the money aspect, but like I said, I I like my time. I like spending time with my family. I like to be able to wake up when I want. I like to be able to just be in control of my life. So that's, like I said, I decided after the pandemic hit, they were laying everybody off anyway. My wife was actually in college, and her program ended up getting canceled as well. And we've traveled to Phoenix before all this happened too, and we knew, like, again, with our mindset then, we thought like, yeah, maybe we'll be able to move to Phoenix, maybe in like 5, 10 years, maybe after I'm more established with flying and my wife's career is done. And then what actually, again, when like going back to what I was saying, you have to be open to receiving and manifesting things. Just basically keep an open mind and be open to receiving and expecting whatever it is that you want. If you truly believe you want something, and you deserve it, you'll get it. So, yeah, like I was saying, with our mindset back then, we thought in our heads it's going to take 5, 10 years before we'll be able to move there. And then what ended up happening, it was not even a year later, we ended up moving here after the pandemic hit. We had an opportunity to move here with some friends. At first, I said no because just when I was in flight training too, living with a bunch of guys and just, friends in general, it tends to never really work out well. So at first, I was kind of like hesitant. I'm like, I don't know. But then I said, you know what? What's the worst that can happen? When opportunities come, you either got to jump on them or, if they pass you by. Time doesn't wait for nobody. So we decided, the hell with it. We got married that summer, packed up our car. I think we had like maybe $6,000-7,000 saved up to our name. Moved down here with some friends and split rent at an apartment. And then once we moved here, we just took a few months to really just chill and relax and really just figure ourselves out and figure out, like what's next. So after that, we started getting into e-commerce, selling on Amazon, used books, CDs, and DVDs, all kinds of stuff. Like I said, I've always been an entrepreneur. I flipped cars in high school. Started several just odd businesses, mowing grass, cutting trees, whatever I could, create in my mind to, make money or just live basically on my own terms. So we started doing that, and then for about a year, and then so we started doing that for about a year, and then again, life happened. several road bumps in that year. Our son, he ended up cutting his leg open, and of course, it was like a grace period where I didn't have health insurance. Several other things that happened, but and then of course, like I thought coming down here, the whole moving in with friends thing, that kind of didn't work long term, which I kind of knew that was going to happen, but again, I chose to look at the positive side of the opportunity and what could come about it, and here we are still now. So in the end, everything works out. I think everyone's right where they're supposed to be, and yeah. So, we started to get into e-commerce, flipping all kinds of stuff on Amazon, and then my wife, she decided she wanted to start going to Goodwills and just she loves working with her hands too. Her grandpa has a shop back home where he works on or builds furniture and stuff. And so my wife started actually just in our apartment refurbishing dressers and flipping couches and stuff. Not on a huge scale at that time. But yeah, she started doing that, and just she started making I think 800 to $1,000 a week or every 2 weeks or something, just doing that. And I thought, wow. And then towards the end, Amazon kind of did something where they put restock limits on our account. Everyone that sells on Amazon knows what I'm talking about. But Amazon, yeah, they put restock limits. So basically, meaning that you could only send in so much, and all the inventory we already had at Amazon was over our restock limits. So that kind of hurt us financially there too. We ended up moving back home for maybe about, I don't know, 3 or 4 months to kind of just recuperate and figure things out. And then, just in this past summer is when we moved back down in September. And like I said, the whole Amazon stuff really hurt us financially there. And that's when I think too, I started just kind of having a wake up call to all of this in general. Kind of what I'm diving into is just, what's going on in the world, the pandemic and all this crazy stuff happening, thinking, inflation, things are skyrocketing. And just thinking, what's the next move now? So me and my wife, we ended up selling one of the cars that we had to kind of recuperate and get back on our feet too. And then all we ended up having was a shitty van. And we talked it over several times, and we just decided, you know what, we're going to do it again, and we're going to make it work. So we packed up the van, moved down here with, all we had was credit cards. We didn't really have a whole lot of money to get down here. I think what money we did have, we used to get down here, and then started staying at Airbnbs. I had a buddy down here that let me borrow a pickup, and then we just got right to it. We took everything that we learned in the past, with flipping stuff, and just everything we learned about business and entrepreneurship in general, and just took what we learned and all the mistakes that we learned, and then took action. We started flipping couches again like crazy, and just basically worked our way out of a hole. And a tough spot financially, a tough spot mentally, emotionally, and here we are. But again, I wouldn't trade it for anything. It truly feels good to be free. I'd say, now it manifests to getting a pickup. We started a Toro business where we rent cars out on Toro. I'll be going more into that later. And then now we're starting to get into wholesaling real estate and building out that business and slowly stepping away from flipping couches. But the past year, we've been flipping couches, making around $2,500 to $3,000 a week profit. I have another video. If you haven't checked that one out, go back to my playlist, couch flipping, and check that out. Explain more about all that. But yeah, I just wanted to make this video, just talk a little bit more about my experience with everything and why I gave up applying for a career to essentially flip couches. But yeah, I hope this video, gave you some kind of value, inspires you. If it did, I'd appreciate like, comment, share. If you have any questions for me or anything in general, leave it in the comments below. But that's it for this video, guys. Peace.